channel. To all of you, my wonderful subscribers, thank you very much for your support. And if you are visiting my channel for the first time, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, and strike the bell notification so you get alerted as soon as I post any new content. In the last video, I looked at how to implement multi-factor authentication and conditional access in Entra ID. In this video, I'm going to be discussing passwordless authentication in Entra. I'm going to drop all the description below in the comment section. Go ahead and drop your comments also, and I promise I'm going to be responding to all your questions. Thank you very much as you do so. So in this week's video, we are going to be talking about Entra ID passwordless authentication. Let's get started. So what are we going to be discussing? We are going to be looking at what passwordless authentication is. We are going to try to answer the question why we need passwordless authentication. We are going to look at all the passwordless authentication options in Entra, and then we are going to compare the authentication methods in Entra ID, and then we'll take a look at the magic quadrant. So let us get started. So the question is, what is passwordless authentication? Well, passwordless authentication is a way of verifying a user's identity without requiring them to type in a password or answer a security question. Rather, the user presents some other proof of who they are, such as a fingerprint scan, a proximity badge, an app, or a hardware token code. Now, passwordless authentication is often combined with multi-factor authentication and single sign-on solutions to enhance the user experience, to increase security, and to lower IT operation cost and complexity. So, why do we need passwordless authentication? Well, that is because passwords are often the main target for malicious actors who want to access unauthorized, who want to gain unauthorized access to systems and data. So they use different techniques such as pretending to be somebody else, sending deceptive emails, trying common or stolen passwords to break into accounts. Now, a passwordless authentication strategy reduces the risk of these attacks by eliminating the need for passwords altogether. A lot of cyber attacks are not the result of sophisticated hacking techniques, but rather they are results of simple credential theft. So attackers would often exploit weak or reused passwords to gain access to sensitive systems and data. And to prevent this, organizations should adopt a passwordless authentication strategy that relies on stronger factors such as biometrics or security keys. And in this way, they can reduce the risk of breaches and improve the user experience at the same time. Now, password management is a major challenge for today's digital workers. And these workers use many different applications to perform their tasks. They have to remember and update a large number of passwords that vary in complexity and expiration. And many of them resort to unsafe practices, such as reusing the same passwords across multiple applications, choosing weak passwords, recycling passwords, or writing them down on paper. All of these practices can potentially expose them to the risk of cyber attacks and data theft. And compromised account credentials are one of the main causes of data breaches. So what are the passwordless authentication options in Entra ID? Now, these methods give a more convenient way to secure your data than multi-factor authentication, because users would often, with multi-factor authentication, complain about the hassles, adding extra layers of security on top of having to remember the passwords. So passwordless authentication methods eliminate the need for passwords and rely on something you have, such as a device or a token, plus something you are, such as a biometric feature, or something you know, such as a PIN or a passphrase. Now we have Azure and Azure government offering different kinds of passwordless authentication options that integrate with Microsoft Entra ID. We're just going to discuss 4 of them like you see on the screen. And they include Windows Hello for Business, Microsoft Authenticator app, FIDO2 security keys, and certificate-based authentication. So let's start with Windows Hello for Business. This is a great solution for employees that work on their own dedicated Windows PCs. It uses biometric and PIN credentials that are linked to the user's PCs, ensuring that only the owner can access the PC. And it also integrates with the public key infrastructure and supports single sign-ons for easy and secure access to corporate resources on premises and in the cloud. Now, to enable passwordless sign-ins for your employees, you can use their phones as secure credentials. And if you already are using the Authenticator app for multi-factor authentication with passwords, you can just switch to passwordless mode with the same app. Now, the Authenticator app works on any iOS or Android phone and supports any platform or browser. So users can sign in by receiving a notification on their phones, matching a code displayed on the screen with the one on their phones, and then verifying their identity with their biometric using touch or face identification or even a PIN. Now, FIDO2 security keys are a new way of authenticating online without the use of passwords, and they are based on the FIDO, that is Fast Identity Online Alliance Standards, which aims to make authentication more open and secure. Now, FIDO2 security keys can be any device that supports the web authentication standards, such as a USB stick, a Bluetooth device, or an NFC device. They provide a strong and an unphishable authentication method that does not rely on usernames and passwords. To use a FIDO2 security key, users need to register it with the service that they want to access. Then they can simply plug in or tap the security key when they sign in, and the service will verify their identity. Now, in this way, users do not have to remember or type passwords, and their accounts are protected from phishing attacks and password breaches. So, what are the Entra ID authentication methods? Well, Entra ID authentication methods present a spectrum of security solutions for different levels of protection. Now, passwords constitute the elementary defense against unauthorized access, yet they are susceptible to compromise. So, moving to a good solution compared to the bad solution that passwords is, you will go ahead and incorporate two-factor authentication, enhancing password integrity by introducing an additional verification layer confirming the authenticity of the accessing layer. Then moving on to an even better solution, which is multi-factor authentication. This amplifies the security by mandating extra verification elements, not just limited to two. So we can see that we have, in addition to the SMS and voice, we could have the Authenticator app sending push notifications. We could have software token one-time passwords, or even hardware token one-time passwords as well. So this adds extra verification elements, thereby significantly obstructing unauthorized access attempts. Now, at the peak of the authentication security is with the passwordless systems, which forgoes passwords in favor of alternatives like biometric recognition or security keys, giving the ultimate security and user experience. So moving to the magic quadrant. Now, security and functionality are often perceived to be in conflict. The more secure a system is, the less functional it tends to be. However, passwordless authentication methods with Entra ID has come to challenge this notion. So Entra ID excels in both convenience and security, as it is demonstrated by its position in the top right corner of the quadrant, indicating high performance in both aspects. So we see that it scores very high in convenience, and it also scores very high in security. So passwordless authentication systems like those in Entra ID presents an innovative shift from traditional password-centric security. Now, these systems utilize biometrics, tokens, or alternative verification methods to bolster security while enhancing user experience. Now, the crux of passwordless authentication lies in its ability to strike a balance between a robust security system and the ease of use for the users. Now, by eliminating the need for complex passwords, it mitigates the risk of breaches stemming from password issues. Conversely, it is important that the authentication method is sufficiently secure to thwart unauthorized access. So Entra ID's passwordless solution is designed with user friendliness, seamless integration, and adherence to stringent security standards in mind, ensuring a secure and a smooth user experience. So as we begin to dive into, in the next session, dive into the console to be able to put to the test some of those things we have talked about and actually demonstrate how we can implement passwordless authentication in Entra ID, I urge you to stay tuned and watch this video to the end. It promises to be a very, very interesting and a rewarding experience. So thank you very much as you do so. I'll see you in the next part of this video. So we are in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, and we want to enable passwordless sign-in with Microsoft Authenticator. We can use Microsoft Authenticator to sign in to any Microsoft Entra ID account without the need for a password. And the Authenticator uses a key-based authentication to be able to enable user credentials that is tied to a device, and the device uses either a PIN or a biometric. This technology can be used on any device platform, including a mobile platform. We have Microsoft Authenticator app for iOS, and we also have it for Android. And there are a number of prerequisites that we need to be aware of. For example, Microsoft Entra multi-factor authentication with push notification allows a verification method. And this push notification to your smart device can help the Authenticator app to prevent unauthorized access to accounts and to stop fraudulent transactions. We also need to have the latest version of Microsoft Authenticator installed on devices running iOS on Android. And for Android, the device that runs the Microsoft Authenticator app must be registered to an individual. For iOS, the device must be registered with each tenant where it is used to sign in. So those are some of the prerequisites. Apart from that, we need to be logged in with the appropriate credential. We need to be logged in to the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, either as an authentication policy administrator, or like in my own case, I'm logged in as the global administrator. But remember that you should always, for security reasons, bear in mind the principle of least privilege. In this case, logging in as a global administrator is a bit of an overkill, so you want to take note of that. Okay, so having said that, we are in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, and just to give it completeness, I'll go to the home screen, and then we want to go to protection, and from protection, we want to go to the authentication method. Now, in the authentication method, we can see that there are a number of methods here, including the FIDO2 security key and the Microsoft Authenticator, which is the method that we want to enable for this demonstration. We'll go ahead and click on this method, and we want to go ahead under the enable and targets tab. I want to go ahead and enable it, and I want to specify the target. Now we have the option of specifying all users, but again, like we mentioned in a previous post, you want to be very wary of doing this just from the beginning. You want to first of all test this with a selected group of users, and once you are satisfied that the results are as you expect, you can go ahead and roll it out to all of your users and enable it for everyone. So now I want to enable it to a target set of users. I had created a group. So I'll go ahead and click on add group to add the group for this test. So I'll go ahead and add a group which I created called password_pilot. And I'll go ahead and click on select. So the group is now added. So we now see that we have the authentication mode here. I want to select passwordless as my authentication mode, and then I want to go ahead and save. Now there is just to take a look at the group that we created and to see the users that are members of that group. So I'll go ahead and click on all groups from groups. I'll search for the group Passwordless Pilot. I'll select the group, and then I'll look at the members. So we see here that we have two members, Grady, which I used to test the multi-factor authentication and conditional access in a previous video, and a new user I've just added here, which is Lynn Robbins, which I want to use to demonstrate this. I want to go ahead and copy the username for Lynn, and then I'll close this window here, and then I want to go ahead and test the policy. So I want to open an a private window, and I'll go to my office.com URL to be able to test this. So I want to sign in as the user. I'll specify the username. I'll click on next. Since I'm signing in for the first time, it initially prompts me for a password. So I'll go ahead and enter the password, and then I'll click on sign in. Now it tells me that it requires more information. So I'll go ahead and click on next. And it tells me here that I should start by getting the app. So you have the option of using the Authenticator app, or you may want to use a different Authenticator app. If I go ahead and click on this, it takes me to another page, but that's not the aim of this demonstration. So we want to stay with what we want to demonstrate. So I'll go ahead and click on next. So I already have the Authenticator app installed on my device. So it tells me, if prompted, to allow notifications, then add an account and select work or school. I want to go ahead and click on next. And then I'll open my Authenticator app, and under add account, I want to select work or school. It gives me the option to add work or school account either by scan or QR code or by signing in. So I want to open the QR code, and it prompts me to sign the QR code that we see on the screen here. So I've scanned the QR code and it adds the account. It tells me that the account is added successfully. So once I click on next here, it brings out a number, in this case 13, which I can just go ahead and enter on my Authenticator app. And once I click on yes, it tells me, are you trying to sign in? Once I click on yes, it prompts me to sign in. And before long, it tells me, see now my notification is approved. I can go ahead and click on next. It tells me, great job, you have successfully set up your security info. I click on done. So I don't want to stay signing. Let me just go ahead and click on no. So now I'm signed in to Microsoft 365 or Office 365. So I'll click on, I just follow the prompts, and so it gives me my application screen. So now if I go and sign out of this application, it says I'm signed out. So I'll go ahead and close the browser. I'll open the browser again. I'll go to office.com. All right, so I enabled passwordless authentication in Microsoft Entra ID, and I signed into the account. And in addition to the password, it prompted me to make an approval within the Authenticator app. But for me to be able to fully enable passwordless authentication, I have to go and do that within the app itself. So I have to sign into my account using the Microsoft Authenticator app. I need to turn on phone sign in for work or school accounts, and then I want to perform some configurations. I want to uh, select other ways to sign in within the app and approve a request on my Microsoft Authenticator app, which I have already done. I'm going to drop the link to the description for doing that. And now I want to now go and test fully the passwordless authentication. So I'm in Microsoft Office.com site. So I'll go ahead and click on sign in. I'll put in the password, the username, and then I'll click on next. It prompts me for the password, but for me to now enable passwordless authentication here, all I have to do is click on use an app instead. So once I click on use an app instead, it gives me a prompt on the screen, and I just have to go and enter the same number on the Authenticator app, and I then just click on yes. And sure enough, I'm able to sign in, and this time I didn't have to put in my password. So that's how passwordless authentication works, and we can see that it's very easy and it's about the most secure means of signing into your account using just your Microsoft Authenticator app. So it requires a bit of setup, which we have done. And it takes us to the end of the video. Thanks for listening. And I'm going to be dropping all of the description down below for you to see. If you've got any questions, please also go ahead and let me hear them. Thanks, and see you in the next one.